Gemini, August 10th brings a very different kind of energy into your life. The tarot suggests that today is about clarity after confusion, especially in an area where you have been receiving mixed signals for quite some time. You may have been going back and forth about something. One moment you feel certain. The next moment you question everything. You may have asked yourself whether you should stay or leave, speak or remain silent, trust someone or protect yourself, take a risk or continue with what feels familiar. Today, something begins to change. Not necessarily because someone gives you the answer, but because you finally become honest about what you already feel. Gemini, your mind is powerful. You can see multiple possibilities at once. You can imagine what could happen if you choose one direction, and then immediately imagine 5 different outcomes if you choose another. That ability is one of your greatest strengths. But sometimes it becomes exhausting. You can think so deeply that you become disconnected from what you actually want. And August 10th asks you to step away from the endless questions for a moment. Take a breath. Forget what everyone else expects, and ask yourself one simple thing. What would make me feel at peace? The answer may be much clearer than you expect. There is a strong message around communication today. Something that has remained unsaid may finally come into the open. A message could arrive. Someone may call you. A conversation may happen unexpectedly. Or you may finally decide that you cannot keep something inside anymore. If you've been waiting for someone to explain their behavior, today could bring part of that explanation. But don't expect everything to be said exactly the way you imagined. People rarely communicate perfectly. Listen not only to the words. Listen to the meaning behind them. Sometimes what someone doesn't say is just as important as what they do say. In love, the tarot shows a day of emotional honesty. If you're in a relationship, your partner may need to talk about the future. Maybe you've been avoiding a serious conversation because you don't want to create tension. Maybe there are questions about commitment, living arrangements, money, family, or simply where the relationship is going. Don't run away from the conversation. It may actually bring relief. A relationship becomes stronger when 2 people can talk about uncomfortable things without immediately becoming enemies. Tell your partner what you really think, but give them space to speak too. You may discover that you have both been carrying fears that neither of you wanted to admit. And once those fears are spoken, they may become much smaller. For some Gemini natives, however, the cards show a different possibility. You may finally realize that you have been trying to keep a relationship alive through communication alone. You talk. You explain. You forgive. You ask questions. You try again. But if the other person isn't willing to meet you halfway, eventually even the best communication becomes exhausting. Today may make that imbalance obvious. Don't blame yourself. You cannot create a healthy relationship alone. Love requires 2 people choosing each other, not one person constantly trying to convince the other. If you're single, Gemini, August 10th may bring an unexpected conversation that catches your attention. Someone could enter your day through work, social media, mutual friends, or a completely ordinary situation. What makes this connection interesting is the mental energy. You may find yourself talking longer than expected. One subject becomes another, then another. Suddenly an hour has passed. There may be laughter, curiosity, a little teasing, and a feeling that this person understands the way your mind works. Don't rush to decide what it means. Let the connection breathe. Some relationships become meaningful precisely because neither person tried to force them into a particular shape. And if someone from your past returns today, the tarot asks you to look at the situation differently. Don't ask only, "Do I still have feelings?" Ask, "Would this relationship actually fit the person I am today?" You have changed. Your needs have changed. Your boundaries have changed. The version of you who loved someone in the past may not be the same version of you who would choose them today. and that's okay. Career energy becomes especially interesting as the day progresses. You may receive information that changes your perspective about your professional future. Perhaps an opportunity appears. Perhaps someone recommends you. Perhaps a project suddenly becomes available. Or perhaps you discover that something you considered impossible is actually within reach. The tarot suggests that communication is connected to your professional progress. Speak about your ideas. Ask questions. Send the message. Make the call. Don't assume people already know what you want. They don't. If you want a promotion, say that you are interested. If you want a new position, apply. If you want to work with someone, reach out. Your voice is part of your opportunity today. There may also be a moment when someone asks for your opinion. Take it seriously. Your ability to see a situation from different angles may be exactly what someone needs. You may notice a solution that everyone else missed, and this could increase your reputation. But be careful about becoming involved in workplace gossip. Today, information moves quickly. A casual comment can become a serious misunderstanding. Don't repeat something simply because it sounds interesting. Protect your reputation. Not every conversation deserves your participation. Financially, the cards ask you to be more intentional. Gemini, your mind may want stimulation today. You may feel like buying something new, trying something different, going somewhere, spending money on an experience. There is nothing wrong with enjoying life. But ask yourself whether you are spending because you genuinely want something or because you're trying to escape boredom or emotional tension. That distinction matters. You may also discover a new way to writing, teaching, sales, content creation, marketing, online work, languages, networking. Your ability to connect information and people could become financially valuable. Don't underestimate what your mind can produce. Something that feels like a natural talent to you may be difficult for someone else. And that means it has value. Family energy may also require your attention. A relative could bring up an old issue. Someone may ask for your advice. Or you may find yourself thinking about a family situation you've tried to avoid. Don't feel pressured to solve everything. Sometimes people simply need to know they can talk to you. But remember your boundaries. You can listen without becoming responsible for the outcome. That lesson is especially important for you because your natural instinct may be to help by offering solutions. Sometimes the best solution is simply, I'm here. As August 10th continues, your intuition may become stronger. You may notice a strange coincidence, a repeated name, a familiar symbol, a conversation that seems to answer a question you've been asking privately. Don't obsess over signs. Instead, notice how they make you feel. Your intuition often speaks through emotional reactions. A sense of relief, a sense of excitement, a sense that something is wrong, a sudden feeling that you should wait. Pay attention. You don't need to explain every feeling immediately. Sometimes understanding comes later. There is also an important message around an old fear. You may be afraid that if you make the wrong decision, you'll regret it. But Gemini, there is no decision that guarantees a completely perfect future. Every path contains uncertainty. The goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty. The goal is to choose the path that feels most aligned with who you are becoming. You cannot control every outcome. You can control your intention. You can control your effort. You can control your boundaries. And you can control whether you continue or stop. That is enough. By the afternoon, you may find yourself becoming more decisive. Something that seemed complicated yesterday may suddenly feel simple. You may think, I know what I need to do. Don't immediately talk yourself out of that feeling. Sometimes your first clear answer is the answer you were searching for all along. If you need to make an important decision today, give yourself a little quiet time before asking everyone else for their opinion. because too many voices can make a simple decision complicated. Listen to yourself first, then consider advice, not the other way around. As evening approaches, there may be an emotional realization about someone you care about. You may recognize that you have been expecting a person to give you something they simply don't know how to give. Maybe emotional security, maybe consistency, maybe commitment, maybe honesty. It doesn't necessarily make them a bad person, but it may make them the wrong person for what you need. That realization can hurt, but it can also free you. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people enter our lives to teach us something. Some show us what love feels like. Some show us what we never want again. And some simply walk beside us for a certain part of the journey. You don't have to hate someone to move forward. You can appreciate what was good and still accept that it is time for something different. Gemini, August 10th may also remind you of a dream you've forgotten. Something you once wanted to do, a place you wanted to visit, a project you wanted to start, a skill you wanted to learn, a version of yourself you wanted to become. Why did you stop? Was it because you genuinely stopped wanting it? Or because life became complicated? If the dream still makes your heart move, don't dismiss it. Maybe the timing wasn't right before. Maybe now it is. You don't have to rebuild your entire life in one day. Take one small step. Write the idea down. Research it. Make a plan. Tell someone you trust. Begin. Sometimes dreams don't disappear. They simply wait. Tonight, the tarot encourages you to release one thing that has been occupying too much space in your mind. Person. A fear. A question. A regret. You don't have to solve it tonight. Give yourself permission to rest. Tomorrow will still be there. And sometimes your mind finds answers when you stop demanding them. Gemini, the energy around August 10th is not about dramatic destruction or sudden chaos. It is about a quiet turning point. A moment when you realize that you have more control than you thought. You can choose what you respond to. You can choose what you ignore. You can choose who gets access to your heart. You can choose what deserves your time. And you can choose what kind of future you want to build. The tarot is reminding you that your flexibility is not weakness. Your ability to change direction is not failure. Sometimes changing your mind is evidence that you've learned something. Sometimes walking away is evidence that you've grown. Sometimes saying no is the beginning of self-respect. And sometimes starting again is the bravest thing you can do. So Gemini, if something feels different today, don't immediately fear it. Maybe you're simply outgrowing an old version of yourself. If someone tells you something unexpected, listen. If an opportunity appears, investigate. If your intuition says wait, wait. If your heart says move, move carefully. And if something repeatedly makes you feel small, don't continue shrinking yourself just to keep it. You are allowed to become bigger than the life you once accepted. As August 10th comes to an end, you may not have every answer. But you may have something better. You may have clarity about what matters. You may know which conversation needs to happen, which relationship needs attention, which opportunity deserves a chance, and which old pattern needs to end. That's enough for one day. Gemini, remember this. You don't have to know the entire road to take the next step. Sometimes the next step is all the universe asks from you. And August 10th may be exactly that. A day to listen. A day to speak. A day to choose. A day to stop overthinking what your heart already understands. Your next chapter may not begin with a dramatic event. It may begin with one honest decision. And once you make it, everything can begin to move.